Dishonored 2 is a game I enjoy, and a game I have wasted way too much of my life on. It's got plenty of great environments, characters stuffed with personality, and fun gameplay. All that being said, I still love Dishonored 1 way more, and for the longest time I could never figure out why. That was, until recently while working on getting the platinums for both games. To get all the trophies for these games, I have to really dive deep into each, playing them back to back, which is when the cracks in Dishonored 2 really began to show. Now, I should say again that I do really love this game, and saying that the first one is better is really just a testament to how amazing these games are. The second game is, in my opinion, one of the best stealth games you can buy, so naturally that means that the first one is what I would consider an almost perfect game. It's been 5 years since the second game came out, so if you haven't already played it, you definitely should. But I'll be going over some light spoilers, so if you care about that, then you should get out now. Getting back on topic, the first thing I would like to discuss is how Dishonored 2 royally flubbed up the Chaos system. For those of you not in the know, the Chaos system was a massive forward leap in the realm of realism and immersive sims, as well as a main selling point for the first Dishonored. It helped immerse players in the world by ensuring that every choice you had truly mattered, from the large decisions like the fates of the game's main targets, to the small decisions such as how to take out a random grunt guard. In the first Dishonored, you play as Corvo Attano, the royal protector of the Empress Jessamine Caldwin and her daughter Emily. Suddenly, they're attacked. The Empress is killed, Emily is kidnapped, and the traitorous Lord Regent blames it all on Corvo. You then begin your one-man assassin assault, getting revenge on everyone who did you wrong. The core gameplay loop consists of identifying your targets, locating them, and then taking them out lethally or non-lethally. This ability to choose the fate of your targets is what leads to the Chaos system. As you kill people, your chaos increases, fundamentally changing the world and impacting the ending you ultimately get. And it's not just the major enemies that get this treatment. Every random guard and civilian can impact the world depending on how you deal with them. You see, during the game, there is another world-altering event other than the death of the Empress, and that is the Rat Plague. Yeah, talking about a plague during COVID. It's kind of sad actually. The first time I played this game was years ago, way before COVID. Back when an actual world plague wasn't even a thought in the farthest reaches of my mind. At the time, I thought it was crazy and unrealistic to show these awful people willing to let others literally die in the streets for their own personal gain. But now, in 2021, I see that it wasn't really as outlandish as I once thought. Anyway, I digress. What was I talking about again? Oh right, the rat plague. So there's rats, carrying a disease that drives people insane and causes blood to start seeping out of their eyes, giving them the name Weepers. The rats feed on bodies. The more bodies there are, the more rats there are. The more rats there are, the more the disease spreads, eventually bringing about the fall of the Empire. This is the core way that the Chaos system makes you feel like your choices really matter. If you kill too many people, then the plague gets worse, and the society that was already teetering on the edge will eventually collapse into the abyss. As you stealthily make your way to your next target, every person you run into is a choice. A choice to use violence, the easy way, or find a peaceful solution, the more difficult way but giving a more satisfying end. This was such an amazing way at immersing me into the world, and ensuring that it didn't become a mindless slaughter. I felt sympathy for the guards. They were just doing their job, and it's not their fault that they got in my way. It was so great, and that's why it's such a shame that the developers of Dishonored 2 completely forgot about what made this Chaos system special. The version of the Chaos system present in the second game is a hollow shell of what it used to be. There are two main problems with this chaosless Chaos system, one being that it's no longer a risk-reward system, and the second being that the actual effects of your actions are very superficial. As far as my first point is concerned, it's pretty easy to explain. In the first game, you had a variety of tools and abilities that you could use to take out your enemies. There's your knife, you have bombs, your crossbow, your gun, drop assassins, and so much more. But the thing is, these were all lethal. The only non-lethal ways to take people out is a choke, which could only be done while behind an unalerted guard, or by using sleep darts, which are both rare and expensive. Not only that, but half of the powers in the game are only usable on a violent playthrough. If you're trying to get through the game with clean hands, then half of the powers are just plain unusable. For me personally, this was a good thing. By limiting what the player is able to do in a non-lethal playthrough, they raised the difficulty and put more weight on your actions. In 2, they completely broke this carefully balanced system by giving you an endless amount of non-lethal ways to take people out. You can now perform non-lethal drop attacks, use stun mines, and more powers are designed around a non-lethal playstyle, with distractions and easier sneaking abilities. Easily the worst defender is the fact that you can now choke out an enemy after parrying their attacks. This means I can do a run where I alert every enemy in the game, attacking them head on, and still end up killing no one. It's no longer a higher challenge with a better ending, it's just a choice of, do I want to murder today? The second major problem with the chaos system in Dishonored 2 is the superficial feeling of the effects of your kills. In the first game, there was a clear reason to keep people alive. You didn't want to increase the number of bodies because that increased the spread of the rat plague. But Dishonored 2 doesn't really have this problem. The rat plague is gone, and the replacement, the blood flies, doesn't spread nearly as quickly and has no effect on your overall ending. So not only is the reason for not killing them negligible, but there are also key points during the game where choosing to spare people doesn't actually affect their ultimate fate. For example, on the 4th level, the Clockwork Mansion, you go through this area, making sure not to kill any guards. You then get on a train and leave for a while. A little bit later, you have to return to this area, just to find that all the guards have been slaughtered by another enemy faction. So what was the point of sparing them? They were just going to die anyway, so why does it only affect the world if I kill them? They're going to die either way. So the chaos system is pointless, easy to keep clean, and doesn't have any real effect. This, to me, is one of the most frustrating elements of Dishonored 2. But there are some other things throughout the game that contributed to my unease with this sequel. One of these points was the loss of what I'll call fitting revenge. Throughout the first game, there are 2 main ways of taking out your key targets. One being lethal, and the other being non-lethal. While the lethal one is pretty self-explanatory, usually involving a knife, the non-lethal eliminations are a lot more complicated, usually relating to the wrongs that the targets had committed against you or against the people. For example, the Pendleton brothers made their fortune off of tricking and forcing people to work in their mines under ludicrously dangerous conditions. So their fitting revenge is to cut out their tongues and force them to work in the same mine.
It's only natural that you be curious about what I intend to do with the Pendletons. See, the Pendletons got these rock mines. Have hundreds of souls working down there 1/2 mile deep below ground. So I'm gonna shave their heads and cut out their tongues and put them in one of their own stinking mines. Then they're gonna see life from a different angle.
Or another example was found in the DLC for the first game. One of your targets is Arnold Tinish, a man who made his fortune by planting evidence on people and then accusing them of being sick with the plague so he could steal their properties. His fitting revenge is planting evidence in his house and alerting the guards to him possibly being infected.
What is that horrible stench? I can barely breathe. Oh, General Turnbull, yes, I was expecting you. Please come.
Timsh, it smells like a weeper den. I thought we were secure.
And we are. The neighborhood is swept 3 times a week.
Barrister Timsh!
Please, call me Arnold. We're friends. Here, this will clear things up for you. The Regents arranged it. By the way, I don't think I ever got your first name.
What is this? Is this a joke?
I am not sure what you find funny about it.
Barrister Timsh, this is a letter from the Lord Regent dated a month ago, stating that your building is to be seized by the state immediately due to massive infection outbreak, and that your personal assets are forfeit if you do not comply immediately. A month ago? Are you showing me this to try to convince me that you're above the law?
What? Let me see that. This isn't possible.
Barrister, I am afraid I am going to have to take you into custody. And if I or any of my men contract the plague because of this visit, I'll see that your head rolls.
No. This isn't the right document. This...
Get him out of here before he starts bleeding from the eyes. And secure this court. It's under quarantine.
Yes, sir.
This was not only thematic, but also just kinda cool. I'm so glad that they mostly ignored this in the sequel. Yeah, most of the non-lethal takeouts have nothing to do with the targets personally, and are just general takedowns. For instance, the final boss of the game is Delilah, and her non-lethal solution is to trap her into another world designed by her as the perfect society. How is that revenge? She kinda just gets what she wants and doesn't even know that she was tricked.
At last, what I've always deserved. My justice. Now what's always been marred and distorted will be perfect. I've waited so long. Sing my songs and lick my flesh. Worship me!
Another example is about halfway through the game, when you need to choose if you want to side with the Howlers or the Overseers. I actually didn't know this was a thing until I went trophy hunting, because I always assumed that the non-lethal solution to this area was just to skip it entirely by solving the Jindash lock. Basically, on level 6, the Dust District, you have to pick which of the faction leaders you want to kill, so that you can turn it in to the other one who will give you the answer to the Jindash riddle. However, another option is just knock both of them out and seal them up in crates, before shipping them far away.
Theocracy is not what Karnaca needs, Byrne. I hope 5 years away gives you time to think, while the city rebuilds itself without your little war.
How is that revenge? In fact, this one is even more frustrating than the Delilah case because neither of them is really your enemy. The Overseer is fighting for his religion, while Paulo, the leader of the Howlers, is fighting for his personal freedom. Both are causing problems, but they aren't against you personally. So how is shipping them off any kind of fitting revenge? It's little things like that that kinda tick me off. Well, I should probably calm down. I mean, I just spent all this time ranting about a game that I claim to love. Really, the problems aren't that bad. It's mostly story stuff that no one but a super detail-focused nerd like me would notice. However, there is one serious problem with the game that I once thought was actually a cool feature. That feature, of course, being the no powers run. Early on in the story, you can choose to play the whole game without access to any void powers. I thought this was an awesome addition at first. A really challenging version of the game with no abilities? Sign me up. But as I played through, I quickly realized the problem. Dishonored is full of gameplay choices. For instance, say I wanted to get past this wall of light and these guards. Well, there's a few ways that I can approach it. I could, for instance, wind blast this windmill, overcharging the wall of light and killing all of the guards for me. I could also take out the guards silently myself and save this man before simply disabling the wall. Or I could teleport past them and stealthily make my way around. There's a near infinite amount of cool and unique ways to approach any situation, but because they needed a way to get past this area with no powers, you can instead just walk through this abandoned, unlocked apartment, dodging an occasional bloodfly nest and skip that whole area. And moments just like this persists through the whole game. All these choices and experimentation is completely trivialized by one easy option that can always be done without wasting any mana. And this, to me, was the biggest mistake in the development of Dishonored 2. Oh boy, I really did just spend too much time complaining about a game I really enjoyed. But these things have been bugging me for a while, and I really needed to get them off my chest. If these games interest you in any way, then I would say give them a try. The first one for sure, and if you really enjoyed it, then I would recommend the second one as well. In fact, I'm pretty sure the games are on the Xbox Game Pass, so if you have an Xbox, you have no reason not to play them. As much as I ranted, as long as you don't purposefully take the easy way out, the gameplay is mostly excellent, and the world itself is a ton of fun. I'm sure I'm not the first person to bring up these problems with the game. As I said earlier, this game came out in 2016, so I'm sure a million people have already picked it to pieces. But it's just something I felt the need to talk about. As always, I thank you for watching. I'm going to try and push out a video at least once a week for as long as I still have stuff to talk about. So keep recommending ideas, and feedback is greatly appreciated. Again, I thank you.